When most people think about a prize you'd get inside of a cereal box, you think of some kind of dinky little toy that sort of sucks and no one really has any use for. But back in the 90s, things were done a little bit differently. There was one time I even got a full copy of Age of Empires in a box of cereal. But one of the most bizarre and memorable games came in a box of Chex, and that game was called Chex Quest.
We need a volunteer to fly to the caverns of Bazoik and attempt a rescue of our citizens there.
That's ridiculous. What soldier would be fool enough to enter a cavern full of unstoppable flamoids from another dimension?
Need a volunteer.
I'm from Chex Squadron, and I volunteer.
In this game, you play as the Chex Warrior, a guy wearing a Chex armor suit, and your goal is to use your Zorcher guns and send the evil Flemoids back to their own dimension, so you can save the colonists and other inhabitants of your world. Even though this game was an AdverGame, back in the day it was a blast to play, and to this day it still holds a certain charm to it. So let's take a moment and look back, and find out how this bizarre piece of software came to be. So it all starts with Ralston Foods, the people who own Chex. They were looking for a way to get people hyped about Chex again. So they hired a promotional agency, Waters Molitor, and the promotional agency came up with an idea. A non-violent, retail release quality video game that would come for free inside of boxes of Chex cereal. And I'm guessing Ralston Foods liked the idea, because they budgeted out $500,000 for the development of the game, and made a partnership with AOL, who would make the discs that the game was made on, because making it on floppies at the time would be too expensive. The development of the game was left to Digital Cafe, these guys right here, and what you may notice by looking at this game is it looks an awful lot like Doom. And essentially this is because the guys over at Digital Cafe were really big Doom heads. Some of them were already doing level mods for the current Doom games and things like that at the time. So they licensed out id Software's Doom engine for the game, and apparently they were able to license it out relatively cheap because id had just come out with Quake with their new engine, and it was pretty much considered old tech at that point. In an interview with Charles Jacoby, he said they didn't really have the technical experience to mess around with the source code, so pretty much what they did was make aesthetic changes, and that's why the game pretty much plays exactly like Doom. If you're not familiar with this style of gameplay, it often entails walking around a labyrinth-type area, picking up colored keys that correspond to colored doors, so you can get to the end of the level. And while doing this, you pick up guns and other upgrades to destroy the enemies in your path. Pretty simple stuff. The art direction for the game was inspired by Buzz Lightyear and the recent Toy Story movie that came out. The designer said that he was inspired by the Buzz Lightyear cartoon as well, and really wanted to create a world that felt like you were living in the same universe that Buzz Lightyear was. The enemies, the Flemoids, apparently were a suggestion from the higher-ups. They ended up using green because the Doom engine didn't have a lot of colors, but had a wide array of green colors that they could use. The game also had a musical score, which was composed by Andrew Benson. When all was said and done, it only took them about 4 months to make the whole game. It's also been said, and I'm not sure if this is exactly true, they were able to develop the game so quickly because they used the Doom community tools that people use to mod the game, and that's how they were able to mod this one as well. But regardless of how it was made, did people like it? Well, I guess you could say they ate that shit up like it was Chex. Sales for Chex went up 248%, which is fucking mind-blowing, man. And people enjoyed playing the game. People enjoyed it so much that they actually commissioned a second game. The third game was created by Charles Jacoby, one of the original team members, and released on Z-Doom. And a 3D remake of the original game is currently in the works as well. So whether you love to play Chex Quest, or you think it's an evil corporation's way of selling kids cereal, it's definitely interesting, no matter how you look at it. So I hope you enjoyed looking back on Chex Quest with me. And if you learned something or maybe enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to be making videos like this in the future, but in the meantime, why don't you check out some of the videos I have on setting up emulators and other stuff like that. Also, if you want to play Chex Quest, there's a link down in the description, so go check it out.